Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom, Kevan. All right, this is really going to be Freilach. Let's go see how many non-working people we have, or how many people like you are willing to lose their job. As Monday, Mittentag. Okay.
And I'm in my office.
You're in your office? You're not in your office.
I am in my office. Thank God
I
there's
know.
nobody
So
here.
let's see how. So I know. I figure. So let's see how many Yidden are going to be losing. I want to take off the Svarim. Yeah, richtig. So that's the Ikir. Okay. All right. You can see me, right? You can see I'm going to do a lot of movement over here. Now, 1 second, Kevin. I'm coming back. Now I'm going to put that in.
Take your time.
Put this in. Yeah.
He's preparing
Yeah, then I will start. There's learning and then there's teaching. First, you have to learn, then you have to teach.
Amazing. You teach straight from the class.
I have to. There's so much information that if I'm going to wait 10 minutes, I'm done. I'm done. Okay. You're going to see if we can see me over here too high, too low, then we're going to have to jump into this. So good thing is good.
hello. Yeah. You have to come later tonight. Bye.
Wir kennen sein dort nicht.
Dann ist warte, ein Kopf in the.
Was darf man machen?
I don't see your top of your head. I don't see.
That's not good.
I know. So,
Das Araya hat nicht gekonnt. So
it doesn't. It's just like.
I'll tell you how to do it. I know how to do it.
Oh yes, it's something like there is a.
No, I don't know if that's going to help you.
No?
No. I'll tell you how to do it.
You say you say to what we can understand.
This is like you're teaching, but this is the Poel Mamish.
Was du dort dein?
Ich weiß nicht, noch eine Sache. Das auch aufhören. Und das kann er wissen ein bisschen.
Was du tilted up, okay.
That's what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing. Man dreht the head, man dreht the hand. Very different as blindness. This is definitely going to help. The problem is I'm a Kenyan from Tish. I will pick it up. So become the big filmmaker. Okay. I'm finding enough. Recording. 2 seconds, 3 seconds. That's it?
Yeah.
All right, Eden, with the help of Hashem, we are learning today's Rambam, Perek Chamisha Asar, and then the 16th and the 17th chapter. We're going to focus right now on the 15th chapter. And the 15th chapter has 9 halachas. And the goal of the 15th chapter is to properly break down the challenge and the solution to find the place of the moon. As we learned the sun, we learned that the sun itself has the 2 galgalim, what we call the blue and the red. We spoke about the goyva hashemesh, and then we needed to explain how ultimately, even after finding the correct sun, vis-a-vis the sun, what we call the emtsoi, we needed furthermore, the final step was to bring it down to the amiti, as we explained, right? We needed to translate the language of the sun to the common language. Now we're going to do the same thing with the moon, but we have to go through many steps to be able to come to the same place. Now, we learned in the 14th chapter that the moon has 4 galgalim. We're going to give them their names, and Rabbi Zajac gave them colors. That's something achidish, but we're going to get to the names and the colors in a moment. But before, just to quickly recap, that we have the 3 that are going to, that there's the 3 and the 1. Why are we separating the 3 from the 1? Because the 3 have the earth in their center. It's around the earth, as all the galgalim are. if the earth is exactly in the center or not. We'll get to that soon, like by the sun. We spoke about the blue and the red, right? That the red is not centered around the earth, but the earth is in middle somewhere. The fourth, we said, we're calling that the Galgal HaKatan. The Galgal HaKatan means not that it's small or big and how many miles. It's that it's not going around the world. The Rambam also said in the previous chapter that the daily distance or miles that the three Galgalim are going around the earth, the Emtza HaYoreach.
It's not that the Galgal doesn't go around the world.
Okay. Go step back. The Galgal HaKatan ends up going around the world because the Galgal HaKatan is in the three Galgalim. So since the three Galgalim going around the world, of course the Galgal, but the movement, the center of the little Galgal is not around the earth. Okay, now, Vita. We said generally that the three Galgalim are going 13.10 miles a day. These are general statements that Rambam spoke in the previous chapter. What do I mean by that? So if Rabbi Lush can pick up the camera over here. So what we are looking for here, this center track, we saw this image yesterday, is the three. All of this is the three. And this is what we are calling the Emtza HaYoreach. Without visual, you cannot see it. So when we spoke about the 1310, we are not speaking about the actual moon. We're speaking about the Emtza HaYoreach point that's traveling every day from Ma'ariv to Mizrach. You see the arrow is going 1310. That's all what we learned in the 14th chapter. Now, aside of that, the moon is not in the Emtza HaYoreach. The moon is going around the little Galgal. And if we're looking at the top half of the little Galgal, right? The little Galgal is, we're going to get to the numbers in a moment, but the little Galgal is traveling 13.3 every day. And it's going, the 13.3, if you're looking at the top, it's going from Mizrach to Ma'ariv, actually going in the same direction of the Galgal HaYomi. Of course, it's going beyond the Galgal HaYomi, just to go back to what we learned in the beginning of the 12th chapter, because the Galgal HaYomi is schlepping everything with it. But it's going in that same direction. That is all beginning chapter 15. Now, based on that, a person can erroneously say, well, now the next step will be very easy. Let's do what we did with the sun, right? If you have the 1310, and then you have the other direction, the 13.3, you will know where the moon is. And then, okay, fine. And then if there's an issue with the Emtsoi, with the Amiti, we'll adjust that later. No, you have to stop here and you have to really dive in a lot deeper. And let me explain to you what is really happening. And at least to address one issue, what we're trying to answer, that from our perspective, after the Moilad, the speed from us, what it appears to us, of the moon is not consistent. It's not emes to say that the moon is moving 13.3 on the little Galgal. It's not so. So, Bechlal, you want to find where the moon is. You can't say, well, the three go 13.10. The other one is going 13.3. And make the cheshbon. No, because it's not going 13.3, but it is going 13.3, but it's not going 13.3. And what the fact is that after the Moilad, this is not the whole month, after the Moilad, it's going quicker than that. Quicker mean it's going quicker than Mizrach L'Ma'ariv, because that little Galgal is going min Mizrach L'Ma'ariv. So how is that even possible? How the Hashem is Ein Sof, and that expresses itself in consistency, right? Every day the same thing is happening with the same koyach, with the same speed. So it is the same speed, but it's not the same speed. It is the same. It is, and it's not. But someone should make a book of psychology correlating these movements to who we are, because this is mamash how we are, and we're doimel levana, and that goes bechlal on the Yidden, and particularly by the women. And when you understand how complex this is, you'll have an insight that people do things, they are doing it and they're not doing it, but they are doing it and they're not doing it, and it's not a steer. You have to understand what is. We have very little understanding, and this is the chachma that the Eibishter gave us to open up our minds. Okay, so that's just recapping where we're up. Now we're going to go. All of this is mitoyrasi for me of Rabbi Lush. That Rambam doesn't mention any of this, but it's so gewaldic to be able to see it, to understand the numbers that we will address in the 15th chapter, instead of just being Makabalit, which is the Ikir, but you'll understand a lot better what the Rambam is talking. Yes.
How did Rambam figure all this out?
The Rambam was Makabal some of it from from certain Sfarim that got it from the Jewish people, as the Rambam writes, I think, in the end of the 19th chapter. In other words, Hashem taught us the Moshe Rabbeinu. And this was a knowledge that we were unique in. Am Chacham V'Novin. Only God knows this. And because of the Golus, some of it that the Goyim retained was partially lost from the Jewish people. And therefore, when we went back to relearn it from the Goyim, we got it really from Teiras Moshe. And Rabbi Losh wants to add something. You can speak loud, yeah?
Yeah, I don't remember where I saw it, but the Rambam says I befriended the son of a very big astronomer in the Arab, probably an Arab, and he proved to me and he showed me
that it has to be this way.
That how correct
this is. And once it's proven, that's what it is. Okay. Now, not only this is so beautiful, are we going to explain why the 13-3 movement is and not? And the answer will be, and that will be the meaning of the words Nekuda HaNechachas, don't worry. But we will also get various other Hagdamas which will be foundational to understand what the Rambam is trying to achieve in the 15th chapter. The reading it inside is going to be relatively easy, but the ikir of this class is going to be the Hagdamas that the Rambam doesn't write, that we are all benefiting from the teachings of Rabbi Rosh. Okay, so now listen to this. And now we have to pick up the camera. And there are words that our Chachamim, not the Rambam, uses concerning the three, but Rabbi Rosh, to make our people from our generation, right, that we ate a lot of moistness, so there's a bishul timtum hamoyach v'alev, you give colors helps. Okay, so here let's go. What I'm saying, the three that have the earth in the middle, we're going to call the red, the blue, and the green. Now, the red and the blue, the red is called by our Chachamim Doima. I'll explain soon why it's called Doima. The blue is called Noita. I'll explain soon why it's called Noita. And the green is called Lights. Let me show you what I mean by the red and the blue, and we'll get to the green in a second. So here, you see why the Eibishter made hula hoops? You thought for whatever. This is why the Eibishter made this. This is the red and the blue. The red and the blue affect each other. The movement of the red affects the blue. But let me show like this. As we explained in the intro to Perek Yud, that when the center of the direction of the mazalois is not under the equator, we're speaking about taking the equator of the world and throwing it to the Galgal Hachid. The belt of the mazalois is not under the equator, but the belt of the mazolas goes off the equator by 23.5 degrees to each direction. The reason why we're calling the red doima, because it's similar to the kav hamazolois, this red, right, which is the outermost galgal of the galgale halavana, is not centered in a way, and we're not talking about the earth in the middle of the earth off. No, we're speaking about, is it over the equator? No, it's doime to the kav hamazolois. Now I want you to watch this movement. If this is turning and it's affecting the next galgal of the moon, that's called noite. Noite means it's off. Off from what? It's being affected by the red. But if you can watch, if the red is bidiyuk under the gav hamazolos, as it turns, the blue is off. It's moving the blue. It's schlepping the blue. It's amazing, It's schlepping the blue. But look how the direction of the blue is constantly changing. How much is it off the kav hamazolis, which is the red, 5 miles to each direction? Now, they're different by the fact that they're not aligned under the kav hamazolis. The red is, the doima is, and the word noita is, it's not, it's noita, it's going off. But they are both equal, that the earth is in the center of it. Now, this is very important. Remember yesterday by the shear of the shemesh, that was relatively easy compared to what's coming in front of you. Girdle your loins, they say, because now you're going to be overwhelmed with information. The earth being in the center of the red and the blue makes the cheshbon a lot easier if that's the only thing Hashem would have made, because then whatever it is, biyachas, where you are by the mazolis, if you are in the red and the blue, it's going to appear the same way to you because you are aligned. Problem is, the challenge is, the fun is that inside the blue, you have the green. And the green, Rabbi Lush did not need to put here. No chanes. It would be very complicated. The green, but it's very easy to see. The green, like we learned yesterday with our colors. Remember yesterday, guys, that we had the blue and the red, and we pointed out that the goiva hashemish was the red. So the green, you see, there's a goiva. You see the goiva of the green? In other words, if the earth is in the center of the green is here, not here. The center of the green is here. The earth is here. The center of the green is here. And the goiva of the green, which is affected by the blue, right? The movement of the blue will affect where the goiva is. We're not even talking about the moon. We're just speaking about the goiva of the green, is that sometimes the goiva means it's the furthest away from the earth.
But you're not
closest to out there.
Of the
What was that? What was that?
You're not being heard. You're not being heard clear. And of the speaker, please.
Okay, I'll try again. Is it better, Yakir, now, or worse? Is it better?
Yeah. It is better.
I think I might have covered something. So you have to chop this goiva thing. The goiva means that since the blue is holding the green is not centered in the blue. The green is not centered in the blue, which makes...
Where is it centered?
Let's say, center means that, let's say, relative to the earth, which is here, some parts of the green are very close to the earth, and some parts of the green are very far from the earth. The goiva of the yoreach, like we learned yesterday, the goiva hashemesh, remember yesterday we had the blue and the red? So since the red we learned yesterday was not inside the blue equal, that means that there's going to be a place, Kevan, where the goiva, forget about the moon, we'll get to the moon soon, just the goiva, there's a place in the green that's further away from the earth and a place that's closer. A goiva will affect the distortion between the emtsoi and the amiti. That's what we learned yesterday. That even after you know where the moon is, because of the goiva, you're going to have to do a final step of figuring out, well, that's where the moon is if you are in the blue and the green. But since the center, you're in the center of the blue, but you're not in the center of the green. So when you look at the moon vis-a-vis, where is it? Which address of the mazoles? You'll have a different address. The emtsoi will be the address of the green concerning the mazoles. The amiti, the ultimate step will be, where is the address of the moon concerning me? And the only at the end that we need to know whether there's a moilat or not is when you know where the sun is in the amiti, and then when you know where the moon is in the amiti. But we're not there yet. Just to point out that the green is the one that's called yoitze, right? Because it's off center and it has a goit. Now, we began this class by asking the question, or by saying a fact, that even though the little galgal that's turning in the green, MS 13.3, Nisht MS 13.3, it's really going quicker. After the moil is going quick. Now, we're going to see a phenomenon in a moment, an amazing phenomenon. Every moilad happens when the goiva of the levana is the closest to the sun. A moilad means, you see the black line and the black line, a moilad means that the sun and the moon are aligned from our perspective. Or shortly afterwards, when they go off a little bit, which means the sun is going to be a little bit more in the ma'ariv, the moon is going to be less in the mizrach, that is when we're going to see the new moon. The moilad happens exactly when the moon, when the goiva is the furthest away from the earth. Amazing, always. And which is great. I want you to know that when the goiva is exactly aligned, the highest to the sun, you will never have to make the adjustment between them soy and amit. The adjustment only has to be made because it's not on the goiva. But hold on. I want to first explain why is it that it's after the moilat, it appears to us that it's going quicker than the 13.3. So here we go. That the answer is that when you have, we're using a very professional prop with the other very professional prop. We're learning the chayenu over here. So on the chayenu, don't look at the emer, look at the line that Rabbi Lush, with a lot of talent, drew a very artistic line. I don't know if it can be seen, Bachal. So let's go like this.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, guys, look at this. When you have something that's moving, I'm going to get to the movements in a second. When you have something that's moving, whether it's going to this direction or whether it's going to that direction, you have to place a point which is the base for the movement. Right? If the base is here, if you move this base down, if you move the base down, even if it's going to be moving the same amount of shetach, it's going to cover a different amount of degrees. Rabbi Losh is shaking the head. Could be I'm saying it right. He doesn't say it that way, but that's the way I'm going to try to say it. And if I'm wrong, I apologize from all of you guys. What is amazing is that normally, like we said, the green has its own center. So you would say that you move it based on the center of the green, but you don't do that. Not only do you not make the point from where this movement is happening, not only is it not from the center of the green, which in our picture will be the top of the white, not only do you not make it from the center of the blue and the red, which is the middle, the center of the earth, the same space you have from the top of the white to the middle, you add from the middle to the bottom. That's called the nekuda haneichachis, and the movement will begin from the bottom, which is from here, and not from here.
So unlike the sun, that in the sun we do get to be cover the ikar, the tchilas nekuda. Here we go down below the center.
Very good. By the sun, the movement attack the sun damtsoi. The sun we talk and made the movement from the middle of the sun, and then you have to later figure out what to do with that meeting. Very good, Yakin.
And it goes steady.
And therefore it's steady. Steady degrees. The nun chestes is steady. Here, because now one second. Now let me give you another final, very important numbers over here. Now this is going to blow your mind. So let's go back to the last chapter. We said that the moon is going every day around 13 degrees. The moon is going be'erech every day 13 degrees. Mi might of lemizrach. The Galgal Yom is going 361. Mi mizrach lemizrach. The sun is going be'erech 1 degree. Mi might of lemizrach. We said the moon is going like the sun. But that's a very, very general statement that we're going to now break into pieces and it's going to blow your mind. We said, the moon is going 13 degrees. Yes and no. What's that yes and no? Let's go to the red and to the blue and to the green. To the red and to the blue and to the green. You should know, my friends, that the red and the blue are actually going, listen to this, 11.12 mi mizrach lamayde b'ribayna shalayla. The red and the blue, Yidalach are going like the Galgal Hayomi, of course, more than the Galgal Hayomi, because the Galgal Hayomi is anyways taking everything with it. It's going in the direction from Mizrach to Ma'ariv 11.12. Let's go to the green. That's the trick here. Don't forget, the green is holding the little galgal. The Emtza HaYoreach is the middle of the little galgal. The green is going 24, 23, mimayrav lemizrach. So when you take the 11.12 minus the 24.23, that's your 13. But this is very important. Why is it very important? Because what's really happening every day, right? From the perspective of the Galgalim of the Yoreach to the perspective of the Mazalis. Forget about the earth. Forget about the Galgalayim. When we saying that the red and the blue are moving 11, it's actually going more Lamaitiv. Guys, the sun is going from Maitiv to Mizrach. Two of these Galgalim, the outermost, the red, are going it's going from Mizrach to 11 riboy. It should be here on the mazolis. But now you put the 24.23, and now you're going to be lemizrach. You're going to be the 13 because you deduct this from that. Okay. So now when we're speaking about the Nekuda HaNechachis, don't forget, guys, this movement every day is a lot. It's 24, 23. It's not 13. The green is moving every day 24, 23. In the blue. Now, here's the thing. When it's making the movement, again, you need to have a point from where it moves. It's like when you put this compass, when you put this instrument that you make a circle with, there's the point that you put in the center, and then you make the circle. It's not in the center of the green, the 24. Like if the 24 would be placed in the center of the green, then the 24, guys, look at the picture, would end up over here. If I'm going to move the same amount, but I'm going to put the center in the Nekuda HaNechachis, the same amount will cover much less space. Not the space. The small galgal, I'm sorry. Okay, 1 second. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So now we have the green is over here, the 24. Now we have over here. Now the small galgal that's moving, we said 13.3. If the 13.3 would be from the middle, and don't forget, guys, the 13.3 of the little galgal is also going mizrach lamaydav. That's the key. That's what we learned yesterday. So it's also going mizrach lamaydav. So if it would be from the center of the green, because the little galgal is in the green, then going back, then the movement back, no, it's again nicht da.
It's just a reference. Where is you take the start?
Well, I'm saying the Nakuda.
You start to count from the top of the little galgal, right?
Correct.
And what means top? Top has
the top has to have that point. And since the point is off center to the opposite direction,
since the center moves,
so it's going to go more.
So the top will move
whenever you move the center, what I call the base, the top, the movement will move together with it. So look at this. If I'm over here,
I'm going. Rabbi, but in the simplest way you can say it, please.
Simplest way is that when you move the Nekuda HaNechachis on the Galgalim, you're going to have less Mimaydef Lemizrach. It's going to be more Mimizrach Lamaydef. Rabbi Lush is coming over here.
Okay, let's put it back like this.
Yes.
Now. Here, that will be the center.
That's right.
Now, this is turning, right? Now the top is here. The top of the small galgal, let's say, is over here. In reference to who is the top over here, let's say the whole line over here is the same line, so be the top over here. Now, what happens if I move the center? The center where it's turning is not. It's going to be over here.
Yeah.
It should have been over here because that's where
the center of the green. Yeah.
But it's not going to be over here. It's going to be over here. The good against the middle of where we are, the earth. Now let's say when we move it like.
We move it this way. Like this. That's right.
We move it like this. Now.
It's good. Now, the point is that this won't be as far as it looks. This for us won't.
No, it goes like this. I'm sorry. It goes like this. It goes to Mizrach.
Yes.
So it goes like this.
No, this is Maïdav. This is Maïdav.
No, but it's going from Mizrach to Maïdav.
The blue one. The blue one is going to be Maïdav. Yeah.
I have to push it this way. Now look what happens now. Before the center was over here, so that was number one. Now if the center is over here, then good Nechach is now. In other words, automatically, besides that it turns around himself, so the whole galgal will move like this. What happens? It moves. So before, let's say the Levona was over here. Now when we move it, now the Levona is already moved up more to Mizrach. Because and that center is very movable. It's not like you see over here. Because the more this moves, the more this in the Kudah will move, and the more adjustment we're going to need.
The adjustment is instead of just saying, take the movement of the 13.3, and that is the movement, since the base of that movement is much lower, so it's going to be it's a different point. So therefore, the location in the heavens, as far as we are concerned, it's not going 13.
Closer to the.
It's going to be for us more.
The moon goes more than
the moon is going to be going more. The moon is going to be going more. So that's the first type of cheshbon that we're going to have to make. Now, 1 second, we're not done yet. Let's go back to what we said before. Now that we have this up here, that the goiva by the every moilad, the goiva of the green is the closest to the sun. The goiva is the furthest away from the earth. Now that we explained that really from these 4 galgalim, it's really 2 different movements. The red and the blue are going mimizrach lamaydev every day. They're going 11.12. Now think about this, guys. That means that if you're looking at the mazolis, where is it on the mazolis? Every day it's going 11.12. How far did it get away from the sun? What will be the answer? Yakir, which direction is the sun moving? 1 degree from Ma'ariv to Mizrach. So if this went 11 mi Mizrach la Ma'ariv, 11 be'erach, and the sun is going mi Ma'ariv la Mizrach 1, so now how far is the moon from the sun? 12, which is emes. Now let's make another cheshbon. These are 2 same 12, it's a different cheshbon. We said that the green, the little galgal is going from Mizrach to Ma'ariv. It's going, the little galgal is going from Mizrach to Ma'ariv, it's going 13. No, not the little galgal. The green, I'm sorry. The middle of the green, the middle of the green is going, we said every day, 13. The middle of the Ems HaYoreach. The Ems HaYoreach, the fact is, because of the green's movement to 24, 23, right? The green is going mi Ma'ariv leMizrach. The Ems HaYoreach, the center of the little galgal is going to be going. We said 13 degrees. Yeah, but the sun is going also in the same direction, 1 degree. So it's not going to be 13 degrees away from the sun. It's only going to be 12 degrees away from the sun. So you have the number 12 as a separation, but this is going to be the understanding of merchak hakaful. Remember these words, merchak hakaful, that when you want a cheshbon, sun vis-a-vis the moon, how far is it going in the mazolos away from each other? Mitzad the red and the blue, mitzad the red and the answer is 12. But again, how do you get to the 12, Yakir? Because the red and the blue are going 11 mimizrach lamaydev. It's only 11 away. But the sun who's going in the other direction 1 is going 11. You go 11 one way. The sun goes 1 and the other way, you have 12. When it comes to the green, when it comes to the yoitze, when it comes to the galgal hayoytze, the galgal hayoytze is going 13 degrees. But it's going 13 degrees, mi Ma'ariv leMizrach. We said parenthetically, it's not going 13. It's going 24, 23. But you deduct the other direction. So it's going 13. But since the sun is going in the same direction 1, you might have 12. 12, you understand? So remember that there's a double opposite directions which will be used in the words merchak hakafel, as we'll see in a moment. Now listen to this. We mentioned that the goiva of the yore of the green is always going to be the farthest away from the earth every time there's a moilad. Why is that? Because since this, as we just mentioned, the goiva is being carried by the blue. The blue is moving 11 miles every day. 11 times 30 is 330. That means every 30 days, right? It's going to be 30 degrees away from where it started, because every sivuv has 360. It only went 330. The sun itself went 30 in the opposite direction. So when are they going to meet? They will always meet every 30 days. And therefore, since in the beginning, the moilad was when the goiva hayoreach was the furthest away from the earth, since it's going to be that every 30 days, and every 30 days, that's exactly where the Goiva Hayoreach is going to be. So just to know that by the Moilad, the Goiva Hayoreach is always in the same place. Problem is that to see the moon, you don't see the moon when the Moilad actually happened or when they are actually aligned. You can only see the moon around 20 hours later, and sometimes a lot more than that. Don't forget, you only see the moon, like we mentioned, right after the Shkia. So you have to know when the Moilad happens. Sometimes the Moilad can happen at a time that the only time it's going to be possible to see the Moilad is in the next night, the next Shkia. But you need to have a minimum of 20 days. The little Galgal, forget about where the moon is, and the little Galgal is moving, like we said, 13.3. And then you have to cheshbon what that means with the Nekuda Hanichach, which has to be adjusted the whole time. It's moving a certain amount of space. You have to chap what's going on of it. Now, once you see the Moilad, it won't be by the Goiva. It will not be by the Goiva. The Goiva is only during the Moilad. It's going to be off the Goiva. That will create the need, like we mentioned, like we find by the sun, to have to adjust the Emtsoi to the Amiti.
It's like by the sun, it's
A different thing, but that will also demand such an adjustment. Okay, now another important thing over here. When it comes to the little Galgal, we never mentioned how little is it. So coming back, Yakir coming, this point is moving, we said, 13 degrees every day. This point. The Yoreach is not in the middle. The Yoreach is on the outer parts of it. The diameter is 10 degrees, which means from the Emsa HaYoreach to either extremes, you have the max of 5 degrees. 5 degrees means that even when the Emsa HaYoreach is right directly by the Goiva, depending where the moon is going to be max 5 degrees off. Really, the Rambam will write in this chapter 5.1. We'll explain that at the end. So that's something that you have to be aware of. Now, final introduction. The final introduction is like this. The Rambam writes in Perek Yud Zayin, how many degrees does the moon have to be off the sun in order for you to be able to see it? And you have to know, something in the bottom probably has to be adjusted, that is foundational here. Because something in the bottom has to be adjusted. In other words, this tripod, there's something that has to be, there's like nuts. You have to connect the knot, and one knot got loose. It's a knot. It's something on the leg. There's knees on the leg. Begashmias. So Rabbi Lush is very good with Galgalim, but with a tripod is too simple. Tripod is tama, boring. Okay, we'll deal with that in a minute. So Cheva held up. You got it, Rabbi Lush?
No, I don't.
Don't hold it. Pick it. Look at the legs. One of the legs I got weak. So one of the legs is loose. So you have to knot it. You have to close it.
How could you make it so before? Because it's
one of those knots goes. Okay, let's go by. I'm gonna come back and fix. I'm gonna go back and fix it right now. I'm coming right back, guys. This is part of the fun. That the whole thing will fall down. Lego.
No, but then I won't be able to see red when you take it off.
Okay. All right. The Rambam writes in Perek Yud Zayin that the moon can only be seen when it's minimally 9 miles off the sun. Prior to that, the moon is so little that you cannot see it. The Rambam writes in Perek Yud Zayin that after the moon is 24 miles away from the sun, Vadayit could be seen. Between 9 and 24 is you have to know other conditions which will allow you to know whether it's seeable or not. Now, the Sanhedrin, they have to know whether it's seeable or not. Mitzad echad, we're Mekadesh ideally al pi re'iyah. Means we have to hear it from the witnesses. Just knowing the cheshbonos is not the ideal way of making a calendar. But when Eidim come, Beis Din has to know the cheshbonos, because if the moon is not away from the sun 9 miles, it's less than 9 miles, it was not seen. So they know the Edom are lying. Not maliciously, maliciously, they saw a cholim, they saw a cloud. The Rambam will write about that later. If it's more than 24, then it's shayach, vadai itziabul. Does it mean that these Edom are saying the truth? You have to make a chakira, you have to interrogate them. You don't want to have people at a stam line. But the fact is that it's seeable. That's the numbers on Perek Yud Zayin, 9:24. Here in this chapter in Perek Tezvav, the numbers that Rambam is going to give, now that I moved the tripod, I lost my papers, but I'll move this Balpeh, which Rabbi was in front of me. The numbers that the Rambam gives is 5 and 62. 5 and 62. Hello, 9:24. How can you see it 5 if you have to have 9? So you have to remember like this, that we learned in the previous chapters by the sun that there is an off from the center of the red and the center of the blue by the sun, and that's 2 degrees. Makes a big effect, 2 degrees. We learned right now that when we speak about the Emsa HaYoreach, you have 5 degrees on each side that the moon can go actually 5 here or 5 here. 5 and 2 is 7. Okay? Now, another thing you have to know, and that is that when we spoke about the Merchak HaKafel, as I explained, so there are certain numbers that whatever this distance between the sun and the moon is, really, you're going to have to double that to be able to make the adjustment, as we explained, because of the red and the blue and the green are going in opposite directions over here, big time. That makes a double difference. It's 12, but it's whatever the number is, you have to double it. So therefore, when the Rambam writes, so first of all, there's 5 and 2 is 7. When the Rambam begins with number 5, based on the Merchak HaKafel, 5 can actually mean only 2.5. 2.5 and 7 is 9. So the 9 that the Rambam writes in Perek Yud Zayin becomes 5 over here, because the 5 in this chapter, because of the Merchak HaKafel, is really 2.5. And we just explained that really there's a 7 degrees in adjustment. Now, it's not always 7, because sometimes it's going in the same direction. It's not always going to be, but it could be, it's going to be in a boifin that between the 2 degrees of the sun and between the 5 degrees, like we showed, could be it's going to make a cheshbon of 7. 7 and 2 is 9. That's mitzad the 5. On the other hand, the Rambam and Perek Tezvav is going to speak adjustments until 62. And again, you can make adjustments l'olam vod, but once you're more than the 24 of Perek Yud Zayin, you don't have to give the cheshbonis, because Beis Din knows that it's shayach that they saw. All they have to do is interrogate them. The cheshbonis is because maybe they did, maybe they didn't. So is it 24? Is it 62? Merchak HaKafel. In this chapter, we're going to be using the Merchak HaKafel number. So 62 is really 31. Now let's take the 7 that we said. 7 minus the 31 is 24. 7 minus the 31 is 24. So it's exactly the same number. There's one more stira that we're going to have at the end of the chapter that we spoke about, the amount that the actual moon is going on the little galga of 5 to each direction. We're going to have something b'negeya when you're standing on the Kabul Ha'aretz. How much is it moving? How much does this movement represent in the Mazolos? Here we have 5. The Rambam is going to write a number 5.1. And we're going to leave that to the end of this class. Without any further ado, we're going to open up a Rambam. And Rabbi Losh, can the camera present a bit in Darton? Yeah. The better less, you see the better. Oh, this is very humbling. Perek Hamisha also. Now,
How many people have beat up their own heads learning this, or are just basically going?
I would say
that
like this, guys. That I sat here last night and I went over these numbers with Rabbi Losh, and then we went over to it again, and then we went over it again, and then we learned it inside, and went over again. And I think I have it. I know I'm overwhelmed, but I'm confident because he's here. So if I say something wrong, he'll correct me. I think, again, based on technology, to appreciate that if this information that I'm giving over with Hashem's help is taka correct, then you have to learn it again and again and again and again. And before that, you have to begin to think like a sphere. You know, just this hula loop is so helpful because you have to get used to these movements. And as we're trying to say that when you're trying to find the place of the moon in the sky, like the Nekuda HaNichachis, like I gave the right numbers, but what I think, Kevin, what you're trying to point out is that you have to appreciate what the Nekuda HaNechachis does, is that since the base of the movement is not where you think it is, so when you're going to look, you know it's traveling 13. You're going to look in the sky, you will not find it there. So therefore, you're going to, it's moving quicker. Sometimes it's moving 13, but since you misplaced the center, B'derech Mamela, everything is different. That's something that if you have a model, you see it Beinayim, you'll understand it. And if you don't have a model, then with a little bit of Yigia, when you learn it and you learn it and you think about it and you think about it, then you're Zoichid, you dream about it, then you see it, then you get it. Okay, but we're coming back over here. Here, like we began as the beginning of the intro is that we're looking to make an adjustment to find out where is the moon in the Emsa HaYoreach. Before you put the moon in the Emsa HaYoreach, we just pointed out, you have to know where the Emsa HaYoreach is. So we said yesterday the number, it's going 13, 10. The Emsa HaYoreach every day. And we said that the little goggle is turning 13, 3. But you still have to add this first adjustment, which has to do with the Nekuda HaNechachis. Let's go inside. Halacha Aleph. Perek Chamish Asar has 9 halachas. Starting at halacha number 1. Im tirtza leida. Makam haYoreach ha'amiti. B'chol yom shetirtza. And again, Makam haYoreach ha'amiti will be because at the end, right, the end goal is Yoreach ha'amiti. That's the end. What we're going to be learning right now, before we get to the amiti, is to know where is it in the galgal of the moon. So it's amiti. There's really 2 amitis. Let me say it like this.
The bottom amiti is...
Well, the bottom line amiti is, let's go back to Rabbi Lush's example, is that, again, everything is to find out the moilot. You have to know where the sun is, you have to know where the moon is. Like what he said by the sun is where the sun appears to be in the address of the mazalis, if you will be standing in the red. But then, because of the 2-degree difference, is where it looks when you're standing on Kadar Haaretz. Same thing will be with the Lavana. The Goiva Halavana, if the moon will be in the Goiva Halavana, when you see the moon, no problem. The same place where the moon is in the moon, the same place in Kadar Haaretz. The moment you go away from the Goiva, which is happening, the moment you go away from the Moilad every single month, then you're going to have to make an ultimate adjustment to know where the moon will appear to you in the Mazalos, to know when it got aligned, and then Be'erech, it takes around 20 hours after the alignment for it to be seen, if it's shaykh to be seen. Okay. Emsa Yoreach is the point in middle of the Galgal cotton. The point in middle of the Galgal cotton. The point in middle of the Galgal cotton. Now, Toitzi Emsa HaMaslul. Emsa HaMaslul is the moon is on the small Galgal. The moon is not in the middle. The moon is on the periphery of the small galgal that we said is going 13.3. 13.3, that's not really 13.3, but it's 13.3. You will also have to know the Emsa HaShemesh. Why do you have to know the Emsa HaShemesh? Because I have to know how many degrees is the moon off the Shemesh. And if you remember again, on one hand, we said it's 12 degrees every day, but then we explained the Merchak HaKafel in the introduction. The Merchak HaKafel is how much is the Emsa HaYoreach away from the Emsa HaShemesh. That number has to be doubled. So to get to that number, you have to know also where the Emsa HaShemesh is. Lo Yisrael, which will be the final part of this chapter. That Rambam in the beginning, he says what he's going to do on this chapter. I'm not talking about the Emsa HaShemesh B'negei and Soy and Amiti. No. How far you can say, it's 12 degrees away every day. But because of the cheshbon is the 11.12 and the 24, right, and the 24.23, I think, because of that, we actually had this concept of Merchak HaKafel. And Merchak HaKafel from the Shemesh. You have to know where the Shemesh is, you have to know where the Emsa HaYoreach is, and then you have to do the Merchak HaKafel. All of that will help you finally come to find the place of the moon.
Emsa HaShemesh and Emsa HaYoreach are very steady, 29.
Another thing, Rabbi Lush is saying that the Emsa Shemesh and the Emsa HaYoreach, they have Beineihem a very regular distance every month, a very steady number every month, which is very helpful. And the Amiti is not the same. Okay. Now, V'tikra emtza hashemesh emtza hayereach v'hanisha tichva loisei. This distance, like I mentioned, 12 from one hand and 12 on the other hand, you have to know the distance will have to be double, and the double is called merchak hakaf. Halacha this. But the Rambam is saying there's a lot more to say. Like the Rambam didn't give us Rabbi Elash's red, blue, and green because he didn't need to. It's good for us to understand what's going on over here. Like, why do you have a merchak hakaf? Why are we doubling? Why are we doubling the distance between the sun and the moon? For why do we now? You understand? Rambam is saying I'm only giving you the numbers that you need to know in order to be able to know when to make the moilan. And don't forget, the moment the moon is, if the moon is less than the sun 9 degrees, there's nothing to know. There's nothing to know. And we explained that the 9 degrees that we're going to learn in Perek Yud Zayin here means 5. If the moon is further away from the sun, 24 degrees in Perek Yud Zayin, in this chapter it means 62 degrees based on the merchak hakaf, as we explained with the readjustment. Then vada yitzin. If it's vada going to be seen, the Rambam is not teaching you astronomy here, l'shem astronomy. Where is an adjustment needed? Whenever it's in between, let's go to these numbers, the chapters of this number, between 5 and 62, maybe yeah, maybe not. But you have to know how to you have to make these adjustments. And after you make all these adjustments, now you'll know b'poyel mamish whether you saw it or whether you didn't see it. Because when you make these adjustments, you will know that if it was taka, let's say 20 hours after the moilad, yeah, it was possible for it to be seen if that was right after Shkia. And as we learned yesterday, you have the ideal 20 minutes after Shkia to see it. And now, however, Kain, Allah Gimel, he's been merchak kilos akaful. India merchak kaful chamish miles, a carve chamish. Then it's such a no adjustment will be needed. Ein chayshul tisapes l'teisaval. India merchak kaful mishesh miles until 11 miles. You have to add our emsa hamaslo. The emsa hamaslo is where is the moon on the little? Where is the moon on the little galgal? You'll have to add 1 mile. And don't forget, all of this is predicated on the intro that we gave that the little galgal is moving 13.3, but it's not exactly 13.3. Okay, you have to know that mechachas. Right. Now, ve'im ya merchak hakafel mishtei me'asrei miles ad shmoine asrei miles toisev alem samaslo shtei miles. Im ya merchak hakafel mitei asrei miles ad arba asrei miles toisev alem samaslo shalosh miles. Im ya merchak hakafel michamesh asrei miles ad achal shloisha miles. Then toisev alem samaslo arba miles. Im ya merchak hakafel mishtei shloisha miles. At Shmainu Shloisha Milos, Toisav Alem Samaslo Chamish Milos. Then Yamerchak Kofuk Mitesha Shloisha Milos at Chamish Vaboy Milos, Toisav Alem Samaslo Sheish Milos. Then Yamerchak Kofuk Mishesha Boy Milos, Adachas Milos, Toisav Alem Samaslo Sheva Milos. In Yamerchak Kofuk Mishtein Bachamisha Milos, Atesha Bachamisha Milos, Toisav Alem Samaslo Shmaina Milos. I want everyone to know like this. I'm talking to myself that when we learn Torah, we should know that we don't know. We don't know. When we learn Agishmake Sugya, and when we're Zajac to learn Tinias HaTorah, and you feel like you're touching your Yechida, there's so much more that we don't know. So for the people here that are not chapping it, I think the first takeaway is that even what you think you chap, we also don't chap. It's very humbling. And the goal is not to have the knowledge. The goal is to have the Oibishter. The Hashem put himself in this knowledge. This is Torah.
Humbling and depressing.
No, that's what I'm. Okay, so they're very good. I want to say, Kevin, but I'm happy you said those words. Is that humbling is depressing if a person has a gaiva ego, which we all have. So if it depresses the ego, which is a beautiful thing, even though it's very painful. But from the godly soul's perspective, it's humbling because when we think we get something, and Yakir, the Chachma is so beautiful. When people get this, you shine. That's good and bad. It's good because you're getting it. It's bad because there's much more here. And if I think I have it, I'm close to what's greater. Like, why did Hashem make the Levana so complicated? Because the Shekhinah, we don't get it. We have to get it, and we have to know Tachlis idea that we don't know.
Could be because we never get women. Same thing.
Yeah, and the Goyim Lahabdal, they don't understand the Jewish people. We're different people. It's a different thing completely. It's not mesudar. It's not predictable. It's unpredictable. You're going in two directions at the same time, and then one center, nukuda nechachis. The nukuda nechachis is such a gavaldic thing, like, oh my God. I say it's 12 degrees. No. 12 means 24. Yeah. It's like money you owe the bank, God forbid. You think you owe 12, before you blink, you owe them 24 plus. Everything is doubled. But this is just the adjustment formula. The Rambam is making it easy for us, by the way. Guys, what we are looking for, we're looking for where to place the moon on the little galgal. That's what we're looking for. And don't tell me, since I know where the Emsa HaYoreach is, which I know from the last chapter, how much it's moving every day, and since I know that this is moving again, the little galgal is moving 13.3, so I'll know. You won't know. You won't know. You have to make these adjustments, and only then will you know where is the moon. Where is the moon concerning the mazolos? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the adjustment that you have to make. Why the numbers that we had in the previous chapter, 13.10 and 13.3, are not enough to know where the moon actually is. You have to make these adjustments. Okay, we're in the end. We're in the end of Allah Yimel. The im yeh merchak hakafel mishisha miles v'sholish v'shisha miles. Toisav alemsa amaslo teisha miles. Mashia emsa amaslo achzor malelo. That's called the maslo hanoch. It notes now you know when you learn Allah Gimel, you know where the moon is in or on the little galgal. You know its right place. So now we're getting somewhere. Now at least I know. If I would be over there in the Galgal of the Levana, where am I? Who been there? I found myself. In America, I found myself. If you want to find yourself, go learn these dinner. Then you'll find yourself. So you didn't, okay, halacha dal. Now, hold on. Now, tira kama malusu amaslo hanochin. In other words, now we are going, like we did yesterday in the Rambam by the sun, everything now is the Emtsoi. Everything now is the Emtsoi. Now you have to go to the Amiti. Now you have to go to the Amiti. You don't have the Amiti, you have nothing again. That's Allah Dalat. Further. I guess. Im hoya pachus mimeu shmeina miles. Tigra menas hamaslu hazeh. Mamish like we did by the sun. By the way, we did this by the sun. Remember that? The adjustment because it's not in the same center. Because the green is the center of the green, in which is the Galgal HaKoten, has a different center. The earth is not in its center. Rabbi Lush is looking at me. Bachlal not. I take back that whole statement. Here we're going from the Emtsoi to the Amiti in the Mazolis. In the Mazolis, not on planet Earth. We're going from the Emtsoi to the Amiti on the Mazolis.
So unlike the sun, right?
Unlike the sun. Very good. Unlike the sun. Now, why is it off the Mazolis? Because
we counted the whole time the middle of the small galgal, but the Yareach is not in the middle of the small galgal.
That's it. Okay, thank you. Okay, here we go. Here, before we go into the sun step, don't forget, guys, we were speaking the whole time about the Emsa HaYoreach. The moon is not on the Emsa HaYoreach. The moon is on the outer sides of the Yoreach. And as we mentioned, it goes off 5 degrees in every direction. But like we said, the speeds are not equal. So therefore, you have to know how to make those adjustments.
It has to do with the speed.
I think I said correct. The adjustment has to be made because as you go higher or lower,
as soon as it's not on the...
As long as it's not on the goiva
or the bottom.
Or the bottom,
then you have to
make an adjustment. Okay. As long as it's not on the top and on the bottom, when it's on the top and the bottom, everything is aligned.
1 degree up every time. That's exactly what Rambam just said. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Because by Meyo Shmoinim, you're weiter good. Then Tigra Menas HaMaslu, Hazeh HaNochin Be'emtza HaYirech L'Shas HaRe'iyah. Dimay Masla Nochin Yoyser HaMeir B'Shlesh HaMaylas HaShlech B'Shishim, Toisiv Menaseh. This adjustment will be in addition on the Masla HaNochin L'Shas HaRe'iyah. Ben Shia Be'emtza, Ben Shia HaEmtza Achar Shetoisiv Alo Be'Tigra Mimenu, Hu Makim HaYirech HaMiti L'Shas HaRe'iyah. Now, Amiti for whom?
Going to be the Mazolis. So
I said good. Amiti means for us. For us and the Mazolis is the same thing. So let's go back here. The halacha dalid is because since it's not the goy when it's on the nakud of the goiva, when it's on the top or on the bottom of the circle, it's going to be a line. The moment it goes off, it's not a line. Yeah, you have to bring it down. You have to bring it down. You have to make that adjustment. You have to make the adjustment. Now, what this is the adjustment? Which is on the bottommost part over here. Here and here is the same because it's equally aligned. You're here, it's equally aligned. You understand?
We can't see.
You can't see. In other words,
Now we can.
Until now, we were talking about where this is.
Right.
But now I'm saying something else, that I'm looking up over here, from here. If the Levana is here, or if the Levana is here, whenever the Levana sees itself on the Mazolas, I'll see the same thing. Like over here, it'll be over here. But the moment the moon goes...
It's going to be aligned. The main thing is going to be aligned with the middle of the small galga.
It's going to be aligned with the middle of the small galga. In other words, we began the cheshbonis from this point. Very good. Okay, I got it. Very good. Okay, now let's go back to Rabbi Losh. This is the Emtza Yoreach. The moon is not on the Emtza Yoreach. The moon is on the outer part. Now let me ask you a question. If I'm standing on here, and I want to know where's the Emtza Yoreach by the Mazolos, and I'll get an address. If the moon is going to be either by degree 360 or degree 180, it will be exactly the same. It will be exactly the same. Wherever this is, this will be. Wherever this is, this will be. The moment the moon is going away, either between 360 180, between 180 and 360, then the address that we gave for the Emtza HaYoreach will not be the same address for where the moon is.
Clear.
Where the moon is. Got it? That is what we are adjusting. Rabbi Lush is shaking his head.
It's very interesting. In other words, when the Rambam gave us where the Yereach, the Iker, where the Yereach is, so there wouldn't be any distractions that we have over here with the Noiches, so we would always be able to pinpoint exactly where the moon is in the Mazoros. Because even though the Yereach is also sometimes high, sometimes low, but the Rambam looks, it doesn't care about it. It doesn't matter. But the sun, there is no small galgal, and it still adjusts the two. Here it doesn't adjust. So the main reason why it looks like it doesn't adjust it, like we said before, because always by the mainland, the moon will be on top.
So it's going to be off just a little bit. It won't make sense.
So it doesn't touch.
Okay, very good. So listen to this. Listen to these words.
So in other words, all we have to do is
adjust the Emtza Yoreach to the middle.
To the middle.
Okay. This is very good. Okay. By the sun, we needed to adjust the Emtza of the sun to the Amiti by us.
It's not the goiva.
Why? Because of the goiva. We also said that when the sun is in the goiva, no adjustment is needed. But the sun is never always by the goiva.
Not the sun. The moilad is not always.
When the moilad happens, the sun is not always in the goiva. That's why by the sun we needed more to deal with that adjustment from the Emtsoy to the Amit. The Rambam, let's go back. I said wrong in the beginning of Allah Chadal. The Rambam does not have to adjust the moon like the sun. Why? Because since the Moilad always happens when you are by the moon is by the place in the green that's the furthest away from the earth, that always happens, even though you only see the moon 20 hours later, a little bit later. That difference is not that significant. But what we're learning now is significant. What is significant? That since we gave the place of the Emtza HaYoreach, Well, Yishkoyach, if the moon is 360 or 180, then you're good. But since the moon is going on the Galgal HaKatan, and you're going off that 90 degrees here, which is 5 degrees, 90 degrees there, 5 degrees here, that will affect huge where the moon will appear in the mazolas. That's the adjustment that we have to make. And that will be the amiti by the moon. That will be the amiti by the moon. So the amiti of the sun and the amiti of the moon are not exactly, we're not looking to gain the same thing. Amiti of the sun is that since the center of the red is 2 degrees higher, I have to adjust it by me. The amiti of the moon is that since the moilad is always by the goiva is already there, by the moilad. It's going away from the nishkeferlach. But the emtzayareach, there's a little galgal. The sun doesn't have a little galgal. The little galgal is schlepping it 10, it's going here and there. That is where it gets off. That's the next adjustment. Rabbi Lush finally is saying that I'm getting a little bit. Baruch Hashem. Okay, right. Now, halacha hey, v'dah. Supposed to listen. That we just did. So the first part of this chapter was the masla hanoch. Right, this is very important. Where is the moon on the galgal hakatan? If it is like I said, Meo Shmaini B'Shava, very good Shalosh Shmaini B'Shishim B'Shava, you don't have to make any adjustments. Ella, here Mokem Rechem Tzoi, L'Shasar. That's the Mokem Amiti for where we're standing, or from where but again the Mazoles, everything is aligned. But the Kami Menasa Maslo, what is the adjustment that needs to be made? So that makes everything simple. If the Maslo Nochin is 10 miles, then Tiamonosi Chamishum Chalak. That's the adjustment that you have to make. The empty masla noch in essence, so you know where to look for. You know if the moon is going to be there. Masla noch in essence, milas ti amanose mala achas shmanim shushim halak. Imi yashloishim ti amanose shtei milas aba esrei halak. Imi yarboyim ti amanose sholish milas v'shishim halak. The chachma here came is to know how the Rambam got to this number. Then you know that you know. Okay, we're not there. Imi yachamishim ti amanose sholish milas v'arba v'arbaim halak. Imi yashishim ti amanose aba milas v'shisha asa halak. Imi yashivim. What is it that
the Rambam said that he learned this from the Goyim? Those numbers?
Some of them.
Yeah. He said
he writes it at the end. I think he writes it in the Perek Shi. Or he wrote it before. He wrote it. Just to explain that the Seder, we're learning, we are learning a little bit out of Seder, but either we learned it or are about to learn it. And we learned it last year. I think you test. 18, okay. 18, okay. Imya Tishim, Tiamanosi Chamish Milas, Vachamishim Chalak. Imya Meya, Tiamanosi Chamish Milas, Vashmani Chalak. Imya Meya Ve'esed, Tiamanosi Abba Milas, Vatisha Vachamish Chalak. Imya Meya Ve'eslim, Tiamanosi Abba Milas, Vabarim Chalak. Imya Meya Shloishim, Tiamanosi Abba Milas, Vachados Chalak. Imya Meya Varboim, Tiamanosi Shalosh, Milas, Ushlosh, Chalash. Just Laha'id, that Kevin is not even putting up the pictures from Rabbi Steinsaltz. That's Ad Kedei Kach. This is a Chiddush Noira that never happened and never will happen. It's unique for Kiddush HaChodesh.
Sorry, Rabbi. I'm at the office side.
I know that. I know.
I'm sorry.
I apologize.
Okay. The Rambam writes what we spoke about before at the end of 17, which we'll get to in today's share, with the help of God and with the help of Rabbi Lush. Imya Meya V'Chamishim Tiamanose Shtei Milas V'Shmoina Vabarim Chalak. Imya Meya V'Shishim Tiamanose Mila Achaz V'Shisha V'Chamisha Chalak. Imya Meya V'Shivim Tiamanose Tisha V'Chamisha Chalak. Imya Meya V'Shmoinim Shava Einlei Monik Kamashir Marno, because 180 and 360 it's all the same. The emsa from the edges are the same vis-a-vis the mazolis and kadro aretz. Now Allah Chazayin. In Yamas Lohanochin. Yasser al Meo Shmoina Milas. Here is similar to what he did by the sun. Tigra Oisoi, the cheshbon is not how much off one side, how much off the other side. You always have to go back to the 360. We had this by the sun. Tigra Oisoi Sholosh Meis V'Shishim V'Tedem Anos Tikedem V'Shishim Masla Shemesh. The chayim being a masla chodem ala sorry is tikach man yosef shebeit shtei amona is kfi achod. Kemek derech shaviyanu masla shemesh v'mona shaloi. Kach tasav masla noch v'mona shaloi. Halacha ches. Now tachlis means that Rambam is going to give you a date, and he will want to show you where is the moon and where is the moon.
It's like an exercise.
This is a practical exercise. If you can chop this exercise, it means you understood what you're doing. If you don't get the exercise, then you go back to the beginning. You go back, you make a hekef. You go bask in the other direction. That's why it goes to this direction, to that direction. We're going in all directions. Halacha 8. Ketzad Areisha Rotzino Leida Mokem Erech Hamiti B'Tchilas Leil Shabbos. Give me a date. Sheyoyim Reisheni L'Chodesh Iyar Mishana Zu which is the Rambam is calling the Shnas Iker. Just to know, again, we said this yesterday when we learned that Shana Zul Rambam is 4,000 Tov Kuf Lamet Ches, which is probably when he wrote these halachas, Uminyan Hayomim Hagamurim. So for how many days? From that day until when you want to know, until the Yom HaSheni l'Chodesh. B'tchilas leil Iker at tchilas leil zeh shon roitzim leil d'makam nechamiti. And again, every month we're giving the consistent 29 days. The consistent 29 days is again the Emtza Hashemesh, right? And the Hashemesh and the Yorech. That's the consistency, not from the way it appears to us, but the way it is for them. That is where everything is exactly the same. Toitzi Emtza Hashemesh.
No, that's
the cycle, the easy way to do it. Okay.
The easy way to get to.
Just to make it clear, the Rambam here is not telling you where to look for the sun because he wants to tell you where to find the moilad. We're not up to there yet. The Rambam simply wants to tell you where is the moon. Avu is the Levan. I can't find your moon. You understand? So you know all of the movements and you still can't find the moon. Guys, don't forget the Mechak HaKofel. In other words, you have to know that's where it is. Simanim la lach lach. Now the Troitzish Emsa Hayoreach L'Shari Yazul Yetzi L'Cha Emtsoi. The factor will be Sholish V'Chamisha Milos Shisha Ushloishim Chalakim V'Teshul Shloishim Shniyos Simanim Nag Lav Lat. And now that's the Emsa Hayoreach. Well, guys, now let's go what we learned in this chapter. We don't care. We're not looking for the Emsa Hayoreach. We need that as a stepping stone. We're looking for the Maslo. We want to know where is the moon, the Emsa HaMaslo. And now the Toitz HaMaslo Ezul, which is the Cheshbonis that we had. Yetzel L'Cham Tzoi Meu Sholish Milos Echad Esrim Chalak and V'Sheish Rabam Shniyos Simonam Kag Cha Maf. And now Tigre Emsa Hashem Shem Sayereach. You're going to have Yeshar Sheva Esri Milos Shmoyde V'Chamish Chalak V'Sheish Shniyos. That is the Mercha. And again, the Merchak HaKofel, we said, when you know the distance, you have to double. Tichva Loisoi, Yetzilocha Merchak HaKofel, Chamesh Ushloishim Milos V'Sheish V'Chamishim Chalakim, Ushteis Rishnios, Simonim La Nav Yab. And therefore, bottom line, now how this adjustment has to be made, Toisev Al Emsa HaMaslo, Chamesh Milos Kamoshoy Daino. The Yetzilocha HaMaslo HaNochain, on this day, Meo Shmoinim Milos V'Echad Esrim Chalakim. We don't have to go further because it won't make a difference no further. For the ultimate goal of finding out when the moilad could happen. When did it happen? Where did it happen? Where did the moilad happen? Halacha 9. The final halacha. Its adjustment will be Chamish Milos V'Chelik Echad. Now, Chamish Milos V'Chelik Echad, you have to understand, my friends, that the max that the moon on the mastel will be away from the Emsa is 5 miles. It'll be 5 miles. There should never be a need to go more than 5 miles. Why are we saying 5.1? Why are we saying 5.1? So the mashal Rabbi Lush gave me is like this, is that when something is closer to your face, it blocks a much wider amount of background.
No,
right?
The Rambam actually says,
I have a Ma'ger of a Chelik Echad.
No. I went back to the table.
Okay.
Table. So he says, I just wanted to bring out.
Rabbi Lush wants to bring out is that I want to take a look at the circle. If I'm standing very far away from the circle, the most it takes up in the mazolis on each side is only 5. That's the most. The closer up I go, the more it's going to block. The more it's going to block. And not only the more it's going to block, but instead of this point being the farthermost point, the closer I get to the circle, a lower point will be the farthest most point. And that's the difference over here in the number. And let's leave it at that. That's a bonus. That's the bonus for today, for this chapter. Now, therefore, as we just had the formula, that's the chelik echad. Again, that's just answering. It's not one, it's chelik echad. Yishar Shmoina Baboy Milas v'Chamish Shloshim Chalakim uV'Teisha Shloshim Shnias. Tasa Shnias Chelik v'Toisim Al Chalakim v'Nimsa Mokam Erech Hamiti. Shazu. Bottom line, that Rambam gave an exercise. We're looking where will the moon be from our perspective on the night of the second day of the month of Iyar of that year. Daled Tov Tov Kuf Lamed Ches. It's going to be B'Mazel Shoyer. B'Shmoina Esrei Milas v'Shisha Shloshim Chalakim v'Milas Shasei Simona Machlav. And al derech zeh teida makoyim hayreach ha'amiti b'choleis v'iyam shetirtza mitchila shana zu shehi ikar ad soif ha'olam. And we will continue in a moment.